Part 2.
Yep, go ahead.
January 30th, 2022. So if we look at Nun Zadi Het as, and Mem Nun Zadi Het as being illustrious, triumphant, brilliant, successful, victorious, overcomer, Nun and Mem are both the prefix letters. What's Zadi Het? Look in the dictionary. Zadi Het, white, dazzling, bright, clear, and pure. That's why the good guys wear the white cowboy hats and the bad guys were wearing the black. Then they flipped it around. Gosh, there was one movie, I can't remember what the name of it was. It had to do with knights in the Middle Ages. And the good guy was a black knight, and the bad guys were the white-robed ecclesiastical authorities. Kind of interesting. Anyway, so you take any genre and they set up a rule, then they flip the rules and they twist and distort, and that fills up the genre of the type. Anyway, Zadi Het Hey, Zadi Het Het, dry, parched, thirsty, and arid. Zadi Het Noon. Well, you'd think just adding a noon that's somebody involved with that, but okay, so what is dried out? Well, filthy stench, a dead fish, a fish out of water that's just, well, see, you have to stop and think, well, wait a minute, how does that work? If something is white, dazzling, bright, clear, and pure, well, that's good. Yeah, but a rotten and a dead fish? Thirsty? How can that be good? It's all part of the contemplation. Zodi Yod Vav Nun. Now we're just looking at Zodi. Well, that's the word Zion, Zion. Zodi Yod Vav Nun. If Vav Nun is the construct state, what's Zodi Yod? Zodi Vav Tav is to kindle, burn, listen, obey, join, follow, man the crew, team up, an association or society. So the word Zion, Mount Zion, Zion, the New Jerusalem, Zion, the kingdom of heaven. It's not this ethereal, imaginary thing. It's the association to get a group of people teamed up to pull them in who will listen to his voice and do what he says. Those are the Zadi Vav, men on the crew. Those are the ones that get to resurrect unto life. Those are the ones that are listening and obeying. Zadi Vav is the word command. So for a whole group and an association for the last 2,000 years to insist there is no law, no law. I've heard it screamed in my face. That's an absolute contradiction to what the word Zion means. The word Zion means do what I say. That's law. That's command. No law. Okay, well, there's a complete difference. So you have the 5 things. He gave us his name. He gave us his day. He gave us his Moedim as a command, Moedim, the place of witness and testimony, the place that those who claim to be his will be when he's said to be there, which is why there's all the contention of the calendar. It's like, which day, when, what are we supposed to do? He gave us a very particular people group, 12 tribes, unique, special, different than any other on the face of the earth, and a very specific covenant. You will listen to me and get the blessing, and if you do not listen to my voice and you betray this covenant, you will get the curse, death. Not only as the mortal man, but also the nation ripped apart, fragmented, strewn across the face of the earth, dead as a society and association until the time, Ayin Dalet Ayin Tav, until time. Somebody asked, I think it was last week, what's the word for time? Well, Ayin Dalet means until. It's a progress in time, but I should have clarified the word time itself is Ayin Tav. And the word Ayin Tav, hey, means right now, this time, this moment. Ayin Dalet Ayin Tav means until the time. We're going to get to that in a moment, where the idea is it's a progression in time. So if we say, when's that bus supposed to show up? It's behind schedule. By golly, I've been standing here waiting. Jesus said he was going to come back, or he's supposed to bring the nation back together. And gosh, time's moving on. We're 2022 already. Perhaps he's waiting for us until the time that you guys, Kuf Zadi. What? Kuf Zadi is supposed to be the end, but Kuf also means wake up. Wake up and do what? Wake up and listen to what he said. Do what he said. To Shema is not only to hear, but take it to heart, believing it, and putting it to the action of doing. Zadi, Vav, is the command, and those who have joined his team, man the crew, Gabor, man up, and B, his Zadik, is to do what he said. And until the day that we listen, take it to heart, and do what he said, it ain't the time yet, apparently. So by us reading his words, wrapping our mind around it, ironing, ezening, pulling it within, memming, nooning the action of Zadi, that must be the time. So when he said he's going to allow for times and half a time until the end of the crushing, the fragmenting of the hands of Kadosh people, that all these things would accomplish. For us to wake up and come back to listen to his words means that time is over. But if you listen to people talk about eschatology, it's like, oh no, this is the beginning of tribulation, beginning of the 3.5 years. No, he said that was the end of the times and half a time. See, when you read it in English, it's all been distorted, all been mucked about. The only way to get any clarity for you to have a Gabor heart, a vigorous heart as a knight, as a man of valor and heroic stature, a Resh Man's heart, is to hear these words, to see these words in Hebrew. The word Zadi Yod, which would be my command, is also ship, fleet, and navy. But it's also wild animals living in the desert. What's the desert? A dry surface where you have dead fish. But it's also a ship's dock in water. The landing turf of the aircraft carrier is like a big, huge field of dry land in the middle of the water. For Yahuwah to call himself Yahuwah Zavot, Zadi Bet Aleph Vav Tav. Well, it's hosts, it's legions, it's armies, turtles. But the idea that Zadi Yod is a ship, a fleet, or a navy, Yod is suffix, my Zadi is my fleet. So for him to say, those who are under his command is Zadi Vav. So listen to what he says, makes us part of his fleet. So a wild animal living in the desert, I could say, is like a sailor living on one of his ships. This Hebrew is all taking the definition, picturing the context, filling the whole thing out into this illustration of reality, not fantasy. Zadi Yod Vav Tav, Ziot then is obeying, being his crew, his people, his Kadoshi betrothed, all has to do with obeying him. A friend was talking to somebody the other day, somebody that he knows was drunk and wanted to drive. And he says, you're not going to get in your car and drive. And this lady turned around and said, you will never tell me what to do and never tell me what not to do ever again. You hear that? It's like, what the? Is that our attitude about Yahuwah? There's no law? Really? You're going to be his betrothed and say, you will never tell me what to do and not to do ever again? Or the relationship is over? Well, the relationship is over already. Because only if Israel will take it to heart here willingly, receptively, can you be Israel. You want to argue about this point? You're not his people. You better take that to heart. Mem that. Zion, monument, landmark, signpost, gravestone. What's a monument or landmark or a signpost? Tells you where you're at. I've heard it said, and I'm not playing into one way or the other, that crop circles that show up at a certain day are actually signposts, not for location, but for time. People who know, I've heard people say they know how to time travel. Whether that's true or not, I have no idea. But if you're time traveling and you notice a certain crop circle, a certain complex design out in somebody's field, you'll know what day, so you can land right there. It's just an interesting concept. It's a matter of 3 dimensions of space, the 4th dimension, if that's time. Is it possible to move through time? Can a Resh Man move through time? Could Yeshua move through time? Remember, time as well as space is a construct of the Bet realm. You step outside of that realm and who knows what the limits are. So when he said, hide the words and seal the book until the time, the word end, until the time of the end, is kufzadi. So you read in the dictionary, oh, it means to come to the end of a street where you have an intersection and now you have to turn. So it's to turn a corner. Okay, that's what it means. Or is there more to it? Again, trying to show you how to use the dictionary. Mem kufzadi, stick the arbitrary prefixes. The prefixes, aleph, I am, bet, in the condition of, dalet, sufficient to, sometimes used. Hey means the. But if you look at hey, gimel, hey, it doesn't mean the, it kind of means the gimling. That's the word to navigate, steering, pondering, spelling words. I'm just giving you the list of prefix letters. I've done it before. I'm trying to do it again here real fast. Vav is a prefix, and, but, when. It's a connector. Yod, he will, basically. Kaf, like. Lamed, unto, regarding. Mem, place of, the to put it into the tool or the state of. Nun is to engage the action. Sheen, that which belongs to, and then Tav has to do with kind of like future or past. Those are all can be used as the prefix letters. Stick any one of those letters, or do this study and put them all. Find your 2-letter, 3-letter root word, look up in the dictionary every single spelling with that different prefix letter, and then look at it with yods and vavs in between the letters. If you're looking at zadi het, look at zadi yod het, zadi vav het, put different suffixes, and look at every single spelling with the prefix letter. That's your study. And it's like, yeah, but I should be doing something more important. The study of this spelling is an act of worship, is an act of prayer, is an act of listening, is an act of sacred meditation. It's not a waste of time. Mem kuf zadi hey is a contingent of, like a small set apart detail of soldiers. To set apart something just for using on Shabbat, a certain drink, certain silverware, a certain type of food, allocated for or otherwise forbidden for normal use, is mem kuf zadi hey. So to set something apart. Israel itself is kuf zadi, or mem kuf zadi hey, to Yahuwah. You can't look at the covenant relationship, the history of what's happened to the people of Israel, and compare it to any other. Comes to mind, I had heard, I think it was the 6-Day War, a whole, call it a battalion or whatever, of Syrian tanks were coming in. And I think there was maybe half a dozen, maybe 2 Israeli tanks. And somehow they held off the entire invasion. And they were going to study the encounter to write it down in the war, the logs of war, so that they could, study for future. And somebody says, there's no point writing this down because it was a supernatural event. You can't analyze the strategies and maneuvers to reuse them. And it's like, what do you mean it was a supernatural event? Well, you ask these Syrian soldiers, why didn't you invade? And from what I hear of the story, as they were rolling in, and they had a clear shot for taking over from the Golan Heights, taking over the whole north country of Israel there, all of a sudden there was like this big hand, an angelic manifestation. You better stop. They had to listen to this higher authority than their military leaders. Well, Nebuchadnezzar had the opposite. I think it was Pharaoh Necho one time was invading, and he said he was talking to the whoever the Jewish king was, Jehoshaphat or somebody. He says, "Hey, listen, Yahweh told me to come and invade. I'm coming through your land to hit these other." I think he was going after the Hittites or somebody, and the Jewish king says, "Oh no, I'm going to stand up." It's like, okay, well, you don't have to die. You can get out of here. Nope, nope, I'm going to stop you. Okay, well, he died. The Egyptian king was doing what he said was a command from Yahweh to invade and go attack. And Yahweh called in the Piratzim, the pirates, the Assyrians, the worst people he could find. It's like he's orchestrating all these things. If he orchestrates for one nation to stop and calls another one to go like a traffic cop, that's his business. So we can't look at normal human history and normal human engagements and appropriate them to the 12 tribes of Israel. Can't do it. They're a completely set apart group. Hey Kuf Zadi means awaking. Hey Kuf Zadi Nun Hey, once you're awake, you're engaged in action, is to be commissioned to an officer's rank. When Israel gets reconfigured, its job is to behave like it's never behaved before. We haven't even seen what's about to happen because we're seeing what we hear the voices of the overlords as if they had a length of time still left in front of them. But according to Yahweh, once we wake up and behave according to righteousness, doing what the covenant told Israel to do, listening to his voice, obeying it, and engaging it in action, they're done. So who are we listening to be afraid? Aleph, Kuf, Zadi, Yod, Hey. Aleph is a prefix, Yod, Hey, the suffix, means action of doing, a shareholder. A shareholder in what? In Yahuwah's dreams, when Israel finally wakes up, comes out of the dispersion, the coma of banishment. He will bring us back to the land and talk about a new world order. He's got a whole new thing set up, and we have to hang our heart, our hopes, our expectations that his words are true. And the same picture of Yeshua blowing out of the grave, Zadi, is Israel coming back and Yahweh's dreams being manifest. Okay, we're going to jump to Revelation 1:20. The secret of the 7 stars which you saw in my right hand and the 7 golden lampstands. The 7 stars are messengers of the 7 assemblies, 7 churches. And the 7 lampstands which you saw are 7 assemblies. What are we supposed to do with that? The only thing we can do that is to turn it into Hebrew letters. So the word for secret, there's different words for secret. Zephon is like Zephaniah, means north, but it also means secret and hidden. There's a Samic Tav Mem, and Samic Tav Resh are also secret. But in Jeremiah 23, it says, which of them have been exposed to my mystery? That's Basod, Bet, Samic Vav Dalet. So is this secret or is it mystery? The mystery of the 7 stars or the secret of the 7 stars? 7 stars is Kokavim, but the word Kokav, Kaf Kaf Vav Bet, Kaf is a prefix letter that means like, Kaf Vav Bet means a fire extinguisher. Why is the word star built out of the words that mean like a fire extinguisher? The only thing I can think of is, well, stars endure forever. No, they don't. They can be put out. They can be stumped out. Is that what he's trying to say? What's the word 7? Shin Bet Ayin. It also is the word that means to swear an oath or to be under vow or under the threat of a curse if you break the vow, which is Israel. What about the word for assemblies? Kahal. Well, you might think it's Kaf, Kahal is the way we always spell it. So that's Kaf He Lamed, but that's the word for alcohol. Kaf He Lamed. It's Kuf He Lamed. It means assemble or gather. Kahilat is the Hebrew name for the book of Ecclesiastes. The word ecclesiastical means church assembly. So kahilat is the preacher or the speaker. The book of Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastical, congregational. It also, Kaf He Lamed Yod Hey, is a republic or a big gathering of a community. So when he says the 7 churches, is it 7 assemblies, 7 churches, 7 gatherings? Hey, there's 7 Moedim. Those are 7 gatherings. Those are 7 appointed times where his people were supposed to gather. Secrets, ebons, and seeds. That's right. The secrets. Okay, anyway, Paul just wrote that. Let me go on about this. The lampstands are actually menorahs. Menorah, mem, nun, vav, resh, hey. Nor is nun, vav, resh, or you might see in another verse that it was aleph, resh. So aleph, resh, aleph, vav, resh, and just vav, resh, or nun, vav, resh are all translated light. Aleph and nun are both prefix letters. Yods and vavs, put them in, drop them out. Aleph, yod, resh, for example, looks like A-I-R, where we get the word air, also means illuminated. So mem is that which is the source, hey is the expression. So the thing that light is expressed from and radiates, well, that's menorah. So menorah always has to have 7 branches unless it's a Hanukkah and it has 9. No, you could have a street lamp as a menorah. You can have a candle as a menorah. You can have a flashlight. It's a menorah. It's a place that light comes from. Just so you know the structure of the words. A lighthouse, a place of illumination. Or with the mem in front, it's one who elucidates. These videos are menorahs. Mem, nun, hey, lamed. Now, I'm looking at mem, nun, vav, resh. How do I come up with mem, nun, hey, lamed? Because it's right next to it as I'm looking in the dictionary. For one thing, this is where if you punch up on the computer, what's this word? You punch it in, and the only thing you're looking for comes up, and a few other. But if you look in the dictionary, as your eyes are running through and scanning, trying to find, your brain is bringing in all these other things that are around it. So mem, nun, hey, lamed means leader, director, manager, administration of nun, hey, lamed. You look at it and you go, oh, okay, so the mem in front of nun, hey, lamed means the one who administrates as an executive, being led or guided. Nun, hey, lamed. But hey, lamed is the word where we get the word halo and hallelujah, which is bright and shining, which is what a menorah is putting out. So as you're looking at this, you're making these associations in your mind. And again, it's not just about the language, it's about himself, because he gave us these 22 letters as the expression of himself. Mem, nun, hey, yod, gimel. Oh, now we've got a gimel instead of a lamed. Leader, driver, introduced or conducted. But if mem and nun are the prefix letters, manna, from this source making this happen, hey, yod, gimel. Remember we said hey, gimel, hey. Haggah means navigate, rudder, helm, steering wheel, to ponder, meditate, muse, think, whistle a tune, and to spell words. To go about the business of spelling words and thinking, which is exactly what this is Haggah, hey, gimel, hey, but mem, nun, hey, gimel, yod, customary, habitual, usual. Nun, hey, gimel, driving, doing the gimel. Leader, driver, introduced as a conductor. But Menatzak was supposed to be the conductor of the choir. It's all the same synonym meaning. So when I was saying gimel is going back and forth, I, Daniel, looked, I saw one on this side of the river and one on that side of the river, and I saw one above the waters, so that's the dalet, and these are the gimel. As you get a feel, a sense, as you grok the meaning of each letter, an entire reality, a universe will open up in front of you that you right now wouldn't be able to see without being able to ponder this. Mem, nun, hey, assigned, appointed, count, number, allocated, reckoned, to be a subscriber. When you sign up for something, yes, I'll subscribe to this service. When you join Yahweh's crew, you sign up for this. That's Zadi Yod. So Kuf Yod Zadi, now we're sticking a Yod in between Kuf Zadi. This is all Ayin Dalet, Ayin Tav, Kuf Zadi, until the time of Kuf Zadi, where this is just studying what this is about. Kuf Yod Zadi, Keats is summer fruit, ripe fruit, awakening, outermost extreme, like this is the end of the curse. Time to turn the corner and go the 90 degrees. Loathing, abhorrence, curled, thorny. Kuf and Zadi and Samik are all three letters which can be described as just a thorn, a blackberry thorn, or some type of thorn that sticks in your clothing, a briar, or those devil's head thorns, those nasty things with. To put thorns in someone's path is also Kuf Yod-Zadi, to remove thorns from the path, to clear landmines and booby traps, to clear away 2,000, 3,000 years since the days of David of lies, obfuscations, distortions, misinterpretations, fake religion, fake Messiah, fake God, and return to the truth of who is Yahweh, Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, and what does it mean to be his people? What did he say? What command did he give us? And how do we listen and do it? How do we wake up and do it? That makes this the time. That's what the word Kuf Zadi means. Clear away what he has allowed to become overgrown with devil's head thorns. Kuf Yod-Zadi is also sickening dread. When you realize what has happened and what those guys are planning on doing this year, 2022, out of their own mouth, out of their own writings, their plans and intentions, like what Sennacherib was saying to the people in Hezekiah's day, Yahuwah has other plans for us. Kuf Zadi, hope, removing dread. Mem Kuf Vav Zadi is curly hair. Mem Kuf Yod-Zadi, whose thorns have been removed. Kuf Vav Nun. And I'm just reading these different things in the dictionary. I'm just showing you an example of how to use the dictionary. Kuf Vav Nun. C-O-N or C-O-M, like confusion. Fusion is where things are joined together in such a way that, like nuclear fusion, letting go an atomic bomb. C-O-N and C-O-M is Latin and English for joining together. Kuf Vav Nun is a lineman. What is that? What does a lineman have to do with anything? Lineman's pliers, electrical pliers, used for making connections. But we signed up line upon line, precept upon precept, to obey Yahuwah's command. That makes us linemen. Kuf Vav Nun, mourned and lamented. What should we mourn? Oh, we have to fulfill the law. We'll maybe mourn and lament that we've ripped his heart out and stepped on it for all these years, and that he's had his own dreams dashed. But now we are the generation that we can come back and fulfill his dreams. That's playing into this whole other thing where we've talked about before. Mem Kuf Yod Nun, act like a clown. Kuf Vav Mem, comb, where we get comic, literally means hair or funny hair. Kuf Vav Nun, hey, buyer, purchaser, owner, creator, similar to Kuf Nun Hey, which Yahweh claims to be the Kuf Nun Hey, Kana. Kana Shemayim Veretz, maker, thus possessor of heaven and earth. So Kuf Vav Nun is to buy something. So I'm trying to say that when we subscribe to, we sign up for being his people, like a shareholder is Kuf Zadi, related to Kuf Vav Nun, we have bought into his reality. We can't wrap our mind and heart on the reality of the voices we hear in the news around us. We have to play into his whole mindset, which is these 22 letters. Kuf Vav Nun Tet Vav, an account, computation, where we get the word quantum, which is to quantify how many or how much. We also get these word congress, convention, condominium, contour, confusion. We talked about that continent, context, weaving together, consult, weaving together, taking of advice. I'm trying to look at the different words about the different things that in Revelation 1:20. The secret of the seven stars you saw on my right hand, the seven golden lamps, the seven messengers, Melach, messenger, Mem Lamed Aleph Kaf. Aleph Kaf is the word only, truly, surely. However, but Aleph Kaf Nun is to locate. Now here's a play on words to show you how the scriptures are built. Achan was the name of the guy. He was located as the guy, remember, I think it was when they were in Jericho. They were not supposed to take anything, and he took some stuff, some fancy clothes and some gold, and he dug a hole and stashed them under his tent. And then the next time they went into battle, they lost. And it's like, what the heck is going on? I thought, Yahweh, I thought you said you'd give us victory. Why are we losing? Don't blame me. Somebody's broken the law. Oh, gosh, who is it? Well, separated according to the tribe, according to the clan, according to the family, according to the individual. Achan, what have you done? Oh, well, I saw these things. Oh, why have you troubled Israel? Now you'll be troubled. Bam, they stoned him. The name Achan means to locate. Aleph Kaf Nun. So just like the names of places, the names of people all through Scripture, like the word Gethsemane we looked at last week, if you break down the meaning of the word, it fits the story. Scripture is built that way on purpose. Malak, messenger, Mem Lamed Aleph Kaf, to locate the truth. Mem Lamed Aleph Kaf, hey, work, occupation, service, use, goods. Lamed Aleph Kaf, this is Mem, Lamed Aleph Kaf. So Lamed Aleph Kaf means to send on a mission. Hey, would you go clean that up for me? Would you go buy that for me? Would you go build that for me? And so the Mem Lamed Aleph Kaf is the one who is sent on the mission, or Mem Lamed Aleph Kaf Vav Tav is a message or a mission, a delegation, an envoy. I'm going on about this because he said on the Yom Shabbat, cease your melaka. Cease sending anybody out on a mission. Mem Lamed Aleph Kaf Vav Tav Yod means artificial, made by hand, which is why I mentioned that word a few minutes ago. Mechanical work, building something with your hand. Stop doing that. Yeah, but what if I'm building it instead of sending somebody else on a mission to do it? You can figure out what you're supposed to do on the Sabbath day, but what he said was, cease malaka. Mem Lamed Hey is word or speech. Mem Lamed Vav Aleph is where you get the word fullness or filling up. This is Mem Lamed Aleph. Mem Lamed Vav Aleph is the same thing. Mem Lamed Vav Aleph Hey is the setting of a jewel. So what's the setting of a jewel? Say you have a ring or a necklace, and you take this metal and you put it here so that you put a jewel into it. Okay, you build something that can have something else put in. So the thing you build that takes something filled to the full is Mem Lamed Aleph. But that's also a full basket, which is the tet going back into Daniel 12, where he says, until the end or the completion of the fragmenting of the hands of the Kadosh people, that all these things be accomplished. Okay, so when it gets filled to the full, then it's time for, just a minute. Just have them dump. Hang on. Got to move the vehicle. Thank you. We could just have them dump it by in front of the trailer there, Karen. Anyway, when it's full, it's full. The word for secret mystery, bet Samik Vav Dalet Yod, Mem Samik Dalet means foundation or to institutionalize. It's basically a formula. Samik Dalet, stocks for torture. In other words, you have an intention, you look at the way somebody's body is built, and you design the stocks. So remember back in the colonial days, the stocks, a board that could open up and you stick your head and hands in and they'll close on you, and you're pinned there for numerous hours. Can't eat, people yelling at you, throwing stuff at you, calling you names. You have to defecate in your pants or something, and you're just like, people are just a type of torture. That's Samik Dalet. Yod Samik Vav Dalet, lay the foundation, fundamental, essential, but it's also, see, you have to keep reading in the dictionary. Origin, source, principle. It's an element of chemistry. Yod Samik Dalet, to found, establish. Well, that's being a pioneer. It also means to compose or write, which is like to write a song. Put these all together. What's bet Samik Vav Dalet Yod? Basodi. In Jeremiah 23, when he says, if they have been exposed to my mystery, let them tell my people to stop their evil deeds. Jeremiah 23:18 in the ISR version. Who has stood in the counsel of Yahuwah? Who has seen and heard his word? Who has listened to his word and obeyed it? It's all about Shema. This is the essence of what Yahuwah wants us to do as his people. What does it look like when we wake up and are actually Shema'ing, Shomer'ing, and doing what he's wanted us to do all along? Jeremiah 23, verse 18, 22, 36, 38, and 39. If any had stood in my counsel, that's the word Amad Basodi, Ayin Mem Dalet, evaluate the arrangement, ordered in such a way so as to impose a load. You build the stocks in such a way that it works. You put the head, the hands in there, and now they're locked in there. Structural engineering. Build a wall so it doesn't tip over if the wind blows or if there's an earthquake. If they had stood in my counsel, Amad Basodi, then they would have let my people hear my words. This is looking at the structural arrangement of the spelling with prefixes, with suffixes, in the way that each letter means something and affects the other letters next to it. What we are talking about here is exactly Jeremiah 23, 22. They would have turned them from their evil way and from the evil of their deeds. Verse 36, but the message of Yahweh you no longer remember, for every man's message is his own word. For you have changed the words of the living Elohim, Yahuwah of hosts, Yahweh's avot, our Elohim. His complaint is, you've invented your own God. You've invented Elohim, which are not Elohim, and Yahuwah's avot, you have no clue. So you've changed his name, you've changed his day, you've changed his covenant, you've changed his people, you've changed his Moedim. And the 5 points of identification are a completely different 5. That's why the people who hold to the New Testament think the Old Testament is nailed to the cross, done away with, and is completely forgotten and rejected. And the Jews that hold to the Old Testament, can have no recognition of the Jesus Christ of the New Testament because it's the 5 completely different points. This study is the reconciliation showing that Yeshua is the one identified by the 22 letters. And those 22 letters are the fabric of the universe. Goes on verse 38. But since you say the message of Yahuwah, that's Mem Shin Aleph Masa Yahweh, therefore see, fear, Yirah, I shall utterly forget you, cast you from my presence. Well, that's the ultimate threat. Well done, good and faithful servant. Enter in the joy of your Adon, or depart from me, I never knew you. Jeremiah 23:39, Yahweh is telling us the worst fear. So part of this that I try to go pretty fast here is Jeremiah 23:33, writing down, I'll give it to you, but he says, this is what, verse 34, what you should be saying, every man to his brother, is ma'ana, mem hey, what, ayin nun hey. What is the occupation or concern of Yahweh? And madabar Yahweh, what did Yahweh stipulate? And accordingly, that's Yod ayin nun. Your purpose, your intention. This is verse 37, ayin nun kaf. So ayin nun, hey, is the verb used in Isaiah 58 for the Yom Kippur. It's translated as fast, but there's more to it. So the next page I have here, out of the dictionary, just so you know, instead of saying Masa Yahweh, what is the burden of Yahweh? What is on his heart that we need to have a prophet, one who gets the word from the Lord, get up and tell us? He said, don't you ever say that word again. The word Masa, Mem Shin Hey, is translated oracle or word. Ayin Nun Hey, what did Yahweh pronounce? Answer, reply, testify, respond as a witness, occupied with, busy about, bowed down, afflicted, tormented, humbled, to sing, be meek, modest, poor, to fast, impoverished, at task, be interested in, matter, subject of concern, actual, relevant. It's all the stuff of the 22 letters. It's everything that Yeshua came and did. I only do what I see my Father doing. I only say what I hear my Father saying. That's the only thing Yeshua said. Anything he's reported as contradicting, or anything that Paul supposedly comes up with contradicting the Torah can be thrown out as being a fabrication, a mechanical artifice of untruth. It must agree with everything Yahuwah said in the Torah, that he said, dabar, dalet bet resh, to speak. It's also a matter, it's something or anything as stipulated, come to an agreement, word, to follow behind someone back, a place where cattle are driven, pasture, leader, guide, to destroy, subdue, overwhelm, and plague. Dalet bet resh, hey, dabara would be cause, reason, manner, a raft of baggage, eloquence of speech. The reason or manner, there's a whole other thing going on where if you look at, gosh, we're just out of time for all this stuff. There's a certain word that means the occasion for the, or the pretext of a quarrel. It's the word for fig. He says, gosh, who was it? I forget where it was written. I wrote it down somewhere. He says, what do you see? And he says, I see figs. Some figs are very good and some figs are very bad. And he says, very well. Even so, you know, the people that are listening and doing what's right in righteousness, I will give this incredible blessing to. And the bad figs are the people that are not according to the covenant, that are not listening to my words, that have completely invented other Elohim Akrim, and they will be destroyed. They'll be cast out of the land and chased around the earth with sword and plague following them. And it was, gosh, where did I write this down? Where it was very significant. But the word for fig is where we get the word for excuse or pretext for a quarrel. In other words, why did Yahweh say, hey, Adam and Eve, you can eat anything, but don't eat that tree? It's like, you know, they're going to. That's right. He set up the pretext for a quarrel. Why did he say to Israel, hey, do all your work in 6 days and rest on the seventh? Because he knew we didn't want to. He knew we were just going to bump into having an issue right there. It's like, okay, bring it on. Let's go. He set up the pretext for the conflict. It's built in. Jeremiah 24 talks there. That's right. I was looking at Jeremiah 23, and Jeremiah 24 talks about that. Thank you very much. The word for figs means eye. It's tav, aleph, nun, yod, mem. So look at all the words. Tav, nun is jackal. Tav, nun, aleph, teacher, repeated, learned, second time. Tav, nun, aleph, hey, condition, term, stipulation. Tav, nun, vav, aleph, hey, opposition, occasion for hostility. Tav, nun, hey, repeat, rehearse. Synonym was shinun, hey, a second time. Tav, nun, hey, to hire, tell, or count. If we're hired on as his crew, I'm just saying all these are related words and concepts. Tav, nun, yod, nun, a toothed monster, crocodile, dragon, serpent, or it has been taught. Tav, nun, or tav, aleph, nun, pretext, occasion, right time has come. Tav, aleph, nun, hey, accident. Tav, vav, aleph, nun, hey, excuse, opportunity to quarrel. Why did Adam and Eve put fig leaves on? Oh, there are nice big leaves. They could cover up their embarrassing. It's also because the word fig means an excuse. Oops, we had an accident. Oops, we now have a quarrel. Everything in Hebrew is a play on words. Jeremiah 23:39, therefore, behold, here's the foundation basis, your aleph tav, carrying a debt, and then the word erased, blotted out, confused. We talked about that word confusion, that he's not the author of confusion, but here he is with your aleph tav, in the city that which I have given you and your forefathers, yoked to my face, or my concern, my attention. I have given you, I am lamed yod kaf mem. I have given you, which is nun tav tav yod, or I've promised to teach you, elevating, raising, promoting for success and prestige. Ket resh pei, in spite of reproach, blaspheme, revile, winter, cursed and aggravated forever, and shamed and humiliated forever, that which you'll never forget. Verse 40. In other words, he's saying, listen, I promised you this, but because you've completely turned your back on me, I'm going to give you something which you'll never forget. And then it plays into Jeremiah 24, which is like, gosh, that's the last 3,000 years of world history. So why does the world look like it does? Okay, so the word Mashiach, Yeshua Mashiach, the Messiah Jesus, right? Okay, so the word Mashiach, Shin Yod Het, Shin Het. Shin Het is meditation talk. Haggah, navigation, phonetic, spelling words. It's the same thing. To look down, downcast eyes. Remember, I was saying the other day that he wanted to put his feet somewhere on an ottoman, so he had to give himself a foot so he could go for a walk. Shin Vav Het means to go for a walk. What walk? According to the conversation, according to the 22 letters. Shin Het Hey also means to swim, but Shin Tet Hey is also to swim. But Shin Tet, and on the side of the page here, is where you get the word Satan. It's also to do script, writing, curly, to zigzag and weave all over the place is Shin Tet. Shin Het, Shin Het Het, brought down, humbled, despaired. That's a synonym with Dalal. So for him to be the Mashiach is for him to put himself on a foot to go walking, swimming in a pit with crocodiles, as it were. And then just looking at these different words with Shin Het Yod Nun, swimmer, boils eruption. Shin Het Yod Samek, aftergrowth. Samek is like the growth of a tree. Shin Het Yod Zadi, boastful, arrogant, haughty, lion-like, eagle-like. That's also Gimel is the head raised up, which is also a synonym. Shin Het Yod Zadi is, or Shin Het Yod Kuf, laughter, shechach, crushing, pounding, celestial sport. What I'm saying is, we know what these letters, individuals, Nun, Samek, Zadi, Kuf, and when you put these other three letters as a prefix, you can still see it. If you just said, you got to memorize these words, it's like, spelling seems so arbitrary, but it's not arbitrary. I'm just trying to show you, if you run through the dictionary, every time you see the letter change, even if it's the fourth letter of a word, you know what the letter means. You can feel like cogs on a wheel, like cogs on a gear wheel. Click, 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 click. Teeth on a sprocket. Shin Het Lamed, to roar like a lion, to pass through a hole, pulled through to thread a needle. Shin Het Lamed Hey, ovary. What does that have to do with an ovary to roar like a lion or to be pulled, to pull a thread through a needle? We'll get to that in just 1 second. Gosh, we're running out of time here again. Shin Het Resh, Shachar, where you get to seek early morning, black, dark, first light of dawn, chance of hope, sense of meaning, elucidate, enlightenment, prime of life, set free, Shin Het Resh Vav Resh, emancipated, liberty, released. Right now, right after 2010, is the first chance, the Shachar, the first, okay, time's up. The Hebrew alphabet. Did that chart, just called the chart, Ericology chart, 2010. Published that, got a date stamp, Library of Congress. This is the first glint of liberty, censor meaning, elucidate, enlightenment, released, emancipated. There's this whole other page that's all sent to Kurt having to do with, okay, here, there's this word, Shin, Mem Shin Het, consecrated portion, measured out, calculated to perfection. Remember, this is all about why did he have to die? Mem Shin Yod Het Hey, string or thread used for measuring, a standard of rule. Mem Shin Yod Mem, that's a mashim, put placed appointed to task, like the stars in Shemayim, related word. Mem Shin Yod Shin, touching, palpable massage, where you get something mushy. So he came down here, according to these letters, to be the letters as they're written out. So whoever, however, whenever those string of 22 letters was planned, he had to come down and live through every one of them in sequence. Then there's this word, Mem Shin Kaf Bet, Meshakav, where you get lie down in the grave, but Mem Shin Kaf Vav Kaf Yod Tav, Meshakokit. leader of the flock, bellwether. So we looked up bellwether, and it has to do with back in the 1400s in England, they would put a bell on this one male sheep, and he would lead the other ones. He was like the first one to go through. Mem Shin Kaf, that's related. Yod Tav, image, figure, imagination, one to look at, a star, like a movie star type of thing. Shin Kaf Hey, these are related words. Wait for, expect, look longingly for someone, barb or spear, which is similar to Resh Aleph Hey, is something that catches your attention that you look at. So the Argus album that we talked about by Wishbone Ash, they have this guy dressed, has a helmet and a cloak and a spear. We just look at that and say, well, it's just some guy standing there. It's like every one of those elements plays into a scripture verse. The very fact that it was a barbed spear means wait for, expect, look longingly for someone. And to have this helmet and this robe, there's a verse, I think it was in Isaiah, which talked about that. I can't remember off the top of my head. I'm getting scrambled for time here. I'm going to, there's this whole thing about Revelation 13:9. Maybe we'll look at it this week. I'm going to read you the last thing I wrote up here. So why did he have to die? 12 matters. Number one, and this is a summary of what I was trying to say last week. The entire universe is built as the expression of those 22 letters in their Ayin Mem Dalet, which means order, sequence. So the definition of life itself at capacity and full value, everything has been built exactly because of the order of those 22 letters. 2, he had to resh zadi. Remember the word earth is aretz, aleph resh zadi. I will aleph resh zadi. He had to resh zadi run the sequence as built exactly. That was the predetermined sequence, so he had to come and do that. And I know we're missing the point of like, yeah, but he had to do it because, no, he had to do it. Why did he have to die? He had to run that sequence exactly. As the bellwether, he came to lead the prototype, what's called the maiden voyage. He set this whole thing up and says, okay, I got to do it. Why? Well, remember, Yeshua said, if a grain of wheat stays whole by itself, it's just by itself. But if it dies and decomposes, something about the way that one kernel of wheat is built, or not just wheat, but any grain, any seed, it will reproduce into a plant and put out many kernels of wheat. So he had to come and be that prototype human to produce a bunch of other resh humans. Number 3, that was the bellwether. Number 4, by descending to the depth. Well, that's like the tehom back there in Genesis, first day, formless and void, of mem, the abyss of nothingness. The tehom, the abyss of nothingness, typified, exemplified by the letter mem, where the nephesh souls of men had dissolved. Well, not necessarily really dissolved that we know of. We don't know how it works. The body's laying there, but then the body separates. The soul, the body is the basar, the pulp, the flesh. The soul, is that the nephesh, the mind of self, individuality, but there's a breath of life, the ruach chai, which it says goes, the scripture says goes back to where it came, the Father. Is there really 3 parts? Some people say no, there's only 2. Some people disagree, and it's like, whatever. I'm just trying to look at the component parts that people can argue with. He said, the soul that sins shall die. Yes, the body ceases to have breath and blood circulating, and so it decomposes. But he says the soul will die, so there must be a nephesh soul of an individual being with sentient, autonomous thoughts. So we looked at before the caterpillar, that physically a caterpillar spins a cocoon, a chrysalis, and then it turns into a slurry. And then it reforms and comes out and sprouts as a butterfly. That's the model type of mem, decomposing, dissolving, but then nooning, reconfiguring, and zadi sprouting out with a wing. So he participated in the total human experience of Aleph, I will be born on the face of the earth, and then dying and going down to the mem of the depth of the disintegration, you might say. 5, from that place of mem, he then fertilized noon. Mem is a womb, a type of womb. So in that place of death, as a womb, Sheol. He fertilized, became this noon to blow back up through Zadi unto Reshness. Interesting, the word noon, Zadi, Resh, not Tsar, is this sprout, this branch. So even in the spelling of words, you can see this. So number 6, being, mem, being a laver, a womb, a laboratory, laver, a pool of resources, he being the wiggling strand of massless information, like the little, so him, the aleph head of the sperm with the wiggling tail, the wiggling, remember the Ruach Elohim merachef, it wiggled, oscillated, vibrated. So the wiggling tail, so the same way that he put this wiggling strand of massless information in Genesis 1, the first day, and suddenly out of it came the universe, the same way that a female life form becomes fertilized, impregnated, is the same way, 5 minutes, is the same way the virgin birth, he was conceived within the virgin Miriam, is the same, exact same functional process of what happened somehow at this place of Sheol for him to start up this new Resh type as another type of Adam. So he being this wiggling strand of massless information, the wiggling information was pure life, Aleph through Tav. So you have a picture of like this astronaut in a space capsule being launched by a rocket with a couple engines being launched from Cape Canaveral. That's Yod Hey Vav Hey launching, or Hey Vav Hey launching the Yod. Delivery apparatus is the Shem Zakar. 7, decomposed nefesh of deceased Adam is basically the ovary. The decomposed soul, nefesh, of a deceased Adam is like this empty shell waiting for his wiggling a strand of information to come in tide and fertilize it. Excuse me. In the womb of Sheol, he enlivened his own, making a blend of he and they, a new type of Chai, Resh Man. Shin, Sheol, Shin Aleph Vav Lamed is the grave or the depth, but Shin Aleph Lamed means to ask or beg or request. So those who ask for his life, is that what happened at the depth of the grave? 9. So you get, at noon, it turns around and comes out sprouting at Zadi. So in between you have Samik, Ayin, Pei. So that's the order of business for noon as the life cycle. Be the menorah, bearing fruit. Fruit is eaten, fertilizing the menorah again. So you have this relationship between Samik, Ayin, Pei, and Pei, Samik. Samik, Ayin means, as a word in the dictionary, branches or diversifying like a manifold. Ayin, Pei is to put out a wing or fly. Word for bird, oof. Pei Samik is stripes, variegated abundance, or parted hair. So the Zachakadon, Smilodon picture of the wildcat had parted hair. That's what it's specifically playing into what that is. Every piece of every picture, of every word, of every name tells you part of the story. 10, Zadi, blatant proof, righteousness triumphant over death. 11, remember, these are 12 things of answering why did he have to die. Resh is not subject to, let's call it corpus muertos, corruption of non-life, different relation to time and space than the Vav man. So by him doing this maiden voyage, the prototype run, driving it all the way down, and with the pure Aleph Tav plugging into Nefesh, a new form of Adam, a Resh Man Addis, rather than the Vav Mam Adam. He enlivens all those empty Nefesh, as it were, ovary eggs in Sheol, the ones that had requested to be his. He reinvigorates them to life so that they can sprout Zadi unto Resh out the other side. unto Resh Tav, which is as a word means licensed, authorized, permitted. It's also the word for net or web. So those who would be caught up as his own unto his type. Okay, so there we go. We're right at 2 hours.
Okay, I guess we'll end in prayer. And then we'll start the after show. There's some people who are shy, don't want to talk till after.
That's okay. Yeah, just, if you want to be on record as part of the talk and record something, even if you disagree or say what a bunch of hooey, then you're welcome to say that.
Father, thank you for this weather that we had with all the snow. I want to ask for your protection of your people, Israel, watching this video. Just consider everything that's being said here. Father, I just thank you for my brothers and sisters. Keep us safe. War starts to happen all over the world, and disease, pestilence, famine, everything, Father, that you said would happen is happening. But you said that if we do your stuff, you keep us safe. Please keep us safe. I believe that you're going to do that. I believe all we have to do is walk in your ways. And remind us, Father, not to strive with one another and to love each other. In Yahuwah's name I pray. Amen.